80 samurai stood on a narrow strip of sand, staring at a horizon swallowed by sails. 20,000 Mongol warriors were coming. In 3 hours, every one of those 80 men would be dead. But their deaths would trigger a chain of events so brutal, so myth-shattering, that it would echo through Japan for 700 years.
November 18th, 1274. Komoda Beach on the island of Tsushima should have been quiet. Fishing boats poled onto the sand, rice fields stretching inland, families waking to an ordinary morning. Instead, the sea itself seemed to darken. At first it looked like a storm, then the shapes sharpened, masts, sails, hulls, hundreds of ships advancing in formation. Not pirates, not raiders, an invasion fleet built by the most powerful empire on Earth. 7 years earlier, the first warning had arrived as ink on paper, a letter sealed by Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, ruler of China, master of Korea, sovereign of the largest empire the world had ever seen. The message was simple: submit, send tribute, acknowledge Mongol supremacy, or face annihilation. The Kamakura shogunate did something unprecedented. They said nothing. No ambassadors, no tribute, not even a polite refusal. Silence, 6 years of it. While Japan trusted distance and the sea, the Mongols built ships. 900 of them. In Korean ports, carpenters worked night and day. Timber groaned into hulls. Iron was forged into weapons Japan had never seen. On Tsushima, there were only 80 samurai under Governor So Sukekuni. 80 men to defend an island that stood as the gateway to Japan. Behind them were farmers, monks, children. There would be no reinforcements, no cavalry riding from the horizon, just 80. Sukekuni climbed a cliff and counted the ships until counting became meaningless. The decision before him was mercilessly clear: flee to Kyushu and live, or stay, resist, and die. If they fled, Tsushima would fall without a fight. The Mongols would gain a foothold. The mainland might not understand the scale of what was coming. If they stayed, they would become a warning written in blood. They chose to stay. When the first Mongol boats scraped against the sand, the difference between two worlds became visible. The samurai expected duels, names shouted, lineage declared, honor measured blade to blade. The Mongols advanced in tight formations, shields forward, archers behind, drums beating rhythm into discipline. A samurai named Takasaki Suenaga rode forward, shouting his name, demanding combat. Instead of an answering warrior, he was met with a storm of arrows. They struck his shoulder, his thigh. His horse collapsed beneath him. No duel, no honor, just efficiency. The Mongols did not fight as individuals. They fought as a machine. And then came a sound no Japanese warrior had ever heard, a shrill whistle cutting the air, followed by an explosion that shook the beach. Iron spheres filled with gunpowder burst apart, spraying metal shards like invisible knives. Horses screamed, men staggered in disbelief. Some thought the gods were angry. It wasn't divine wrath, it was technology. Within hours, the 80 were overwhelmed, surrounded, cut down. Supekuni made no ritual suicide. He did not retreat. He charged into the center of the Mongol ranks with his remaining men. 23 followed him in a final desperate rush. None survived. 3 hours, that was all it took for Tsushima's defenders to vanish. But before dying, Sukekuni had done one crucial thing. a rider had escaped in the chaos, crossing the strait to Kyushu with news that sounded impossible. An immense fleet, thousands of warriors, weapons that exploded like thunder. Tsushima had fallen, and the nightmare had only begun.
2 days after Tsushima burned, the fleet moved again. The ships did not scatter. They did not celebrate. They advanced with mechanical certainty toward Iki Island, the next stepping stone toward Kyushu. Smoke from Tsushima still lingered in the sky when new sails appeared on another horizon. Iki had even fewer defenders. Governor Taira no Kagetaka gathered what he could: local samurai, temple guards, farmers holding spears that had never tasted battle. They fortified Hinotsume Castle, a modest stronghold never meant to withstand an empire. By now, word of Tsushima's destruction had arrived. The stories sounded exaggerated: exploding iron balls, arrows darkening the sky, formations that moved like a single organism. But as the Mongol fleet anchored offshore, exaggeration turned into terror. The invasion force was not just Mongol. It was a coalition: Mongol cavalry officers, Chinese infantry, Korean sailors and shipbuilders. A war machine assembled from conquered nations, discipline enforced by fear, failure punished by execution. The assault began at dawn. Arrows fell first, thick, coordinated volleys, not the individual shots of mounted samurai, but synchronized barrages designed to break formations before steel ever met steel. Defenders trying to respond were pinned down, unable to advance. Then the landing. Infantry poured onto the shore in tight ranks, shields locked, spears thrust forward in waves. Drums beat the tempo of death. Japanese warriors attempted the ritual challenge once more. Names shouted, lineages proclaimed. The invaders answered with silence and another rain of arrows. By nightfall, the Mongols had surrounded Hinotsume Castle. Inside, panic spread. The defenders knew Tsushima had fallen in hours. Iki would last longer, but not long enough. The walls trembled under assault. Flaming projectiles arced over battlements. Gunpowder bombs exploded against wooden gates. Governor Kagetaka faced the same decision Sukekuni had faced: flee or die. He did neither. As the walls were breached, Kagetaka gathered his family. According to later chronicles, he killed his wife and children to spare them capture. Then he led a final charge into the invaders. He vanished beneath a storm of blades. Iki fell in a single day. Now, nothing stood between the Mongol fleet and Kyushu, the southern gateway to the Japanese mainland. On November 19, 1274, the Armada entered Hakata Bay. For the first time, the Japanese saw the full scale. Hundreds of ships filling the water from horizon to horizon. An estimated 20,000 to 30,000 troops, some sources say more. Armor glinting like a metallic tide, war banners snapping in the wind. Waiting on shore were thousands of samurai from Kyushu clans. Unlike Tsushima and Iki, this would not be 80 men against an empire. This would be Japan's first true test. The samurai charged. They rode directly into Mongol lines, expecting to break them through individual valor. Instead, they met coordinated resistance. Shields absorbed arrows, spearmen advanced in unison, drums maintained rhythm even as men fell. Again, the explosions. Gunpowder bombs burst amid charging horses. Animals reared and collapsed. Riders were thrown into spear points. The psychological shock was devastating. Japanese warriors had never faced weapons that killed with fire and thunder. And yet, something began to shift. The Mongols were formidable on open ground, but they were far from home. Supplies had to come by sea. Coordination between Mongol, Chinese, and Korean units was not seamless, and Japanese defenders knew the terrain intimately. Fighting raged for hours along the beaches of Hakata. Neither side achieved decisive dominance. As dusk approached, something unexpected happened. The Mongols withdrew, not in panic, but deliberately. Organized units retreated to their ships. Anchors were raised. The fleet pulled back into the bay under cover of darkness. Japanese commanders were stunned. Why withdraw when victory seemed possible? Some historians believe Mongol generals feared a prolonged land campaign without secure supply lines. Others suggest internal disagreements among commanders. The coalition army was powerful, but not unified in culture or language. That night, the sea grew restless. A storm rolled in, violent, chaotic. Ships smashed against one another, anchors tore loose, vessels crashed into rocky shoals. The invasion fleet, designed for transport more than naval combat, struggled against wind and waves. By morning, dozens of ships were damaged or destroyed. The Mongols made a decision that would shock both sides. They withdrew, not regrouped offshore, not prepared for a second landing. They sailed back toward Korea. Japan had survived, but not because of strength alone, not because 80 samurai had died on Tsushima, not because of perfect strategy at Hakata. Japan survived because the invaders hesitated and because the sea turned violent at precisely the wrong moment for an empire that believed itself unstoppable. In the years that followed, that storm would gain a name, a divine wind. But this was not the end, because Kublai Khan did not forgive defiance, and 7 years later, he would return with a fleet so massive it would make 1274 look like a rehearsal.
Because history is not always shaped by those who survive. Sometimes it is shaped by those who refuse to kneel. 7 years passed. 7 years of preparation, of fear, of watching the horizon. After the invasion of 1274, Japan did not celebrate. They fortified. Along Hakata Bay, a stone wall nearly 20 kilometers long was constructed, 2 meters high in places, designed to prevent cavalry landings and slow infantry advances. Samurai drilled relentlessly. Coastal watchposts were manned day and night. They knew he would return. And in 1281, he did. Kublai Khan ordered one of the largest amphibious invasions in medieval history. This time there would be no hesitation, no underestimation. 2 massive forces were assembled. The Eastern Route Army, around 40,000 troops sailing from Korea. The Southern Route Army, possibly 100,000 men from southern China, many recently conquered by the Mongols, pressed into service. Combined estimates range from 120,000 to over 140,000 soldiers, thousands of ships, an armada so vast that some chronicles claim it stretched beyond the visible horizon. In June 1281, the Eastern Route Army arrived first. But Japan was ready. The stone defenses at Hakata prevented a clean landing. Mongol forces attempting to storm the beaches were met with organized resistance. Samurai no longer rode blindly into formation. They adapted, attacking in small night raids, boarding anchored ships under darkness, setting vessels on fire, withdrawing before counterattack. This was no longer a clash of unfamiliar worlds. This was calculated resistance. For weeks, the Mongols remained offshore, unable to establish a secure foothold. Supplies dwindled, disease began to spread in crowded ships, coordination with the much larger Southern Route army faltered. When the Southern Fleet finally arrived in August, it created one of the largest naval concentrations the medieval world had ever seen. Hundreds upon hundreds of ships packed into Imari Bay. Warriors filled the decks shoulder to shoulder, horses confined below deck, tension thick as humidity. The Japanese defenders could see the invasion force gathering. And then the sky changed. On August 15, 1281, the wind began to rise. Not a brief squall, not a passing storm, a typhoon. Waves towered over ships, anchors snapped, vessels collided like drifting coffins. Many of the southern ships had been hastily constructed rivercraft, flat-bottomed transports never designed for open ocean fury. They shattered. Men were thrown into black water beneath crushing hulls, armor dragged thousands to the bottom. Horses screamed and vanished beneath foam. Entire squadrons disappeared overnight. For 2 days the storm raged. When it passed, the sea was littered with wreckage. Some estimates suggest that over half the invasion fleet was destroyed. Tens of thousands drowned. Survivors who reached shore were hunted down by Japanese forces. Many were executed. Others were enslaved. The largest invasion force of the 13th century had been annihilated. Japan had not defeated the Mongol Empire in open conquest. The sea had done it. The Japanese called the storm Kamikaze, the divine wind, a sign, they believed, that the gods themselves protected the islands. For Kublai Khan, it was humiliation on an imperial scale. 2 invasions, 2 failures, staggering financial cost, massive loss of life. The campaigns drained the resources of the Yuan dynasty and exposed the limits of even the world's largest empire. No third invasion ever came. But survival had consequences. The Kamakura shogunate had mobilized enormous resources for defense, yet there was no new land to reward loyal samurai, no conquered territory to distribute. Financial strain weakened the government. Within decades, internal unrest would grow. The divine wind saved Japan from foreign conquest. It did not save it from internal collapse. Still, the legend endured. Centuries later, during World War II, Japanese pilots would take the name Kamikaze, invoking the same divine protection that had shattered Mongol fleets in 1281. A memory born from 80 men standing on a beach at Tsushima. 80 who died in 3 hours. 80 who proved that resistance, even when hopeless, can ripple across centuries.